Hey there, it's Karenology. This level of audacity is off the charts. You have to hear this.
I returned to my farm after just 3 days away and found half of my land buried under a thick layer of concrete. It stretched across my fields, covering the fresh soil I had been preparing for planting, killing the young crops and suffocating the earth beneath. My barn, untouched. My house, still standing. But my land, the land my family had owned for generations, was now nothing more than the foundation of a massive parking lot. My hands clenched into fists as I stared at the smooth gray surface that had once been my pride and livelihood. It didn't just steal my crops, it stole my history, my hard work, my future. At first, I thought it was some kind of mistake. Maybe construction workers had poured concrete on the wrong lot. Maybe the city had approved some project without notifying me. But as I stepped forward, my boots grinding against the rough surface, I noticed the signs, printed neatly on metal stakes driven into the ground. Private parking, reserved for Homeowner Association. Members only. My pulse spiked, a burning rage surging through my veins. My land, my home. They had no right. My stomach twisted. I knew exactly who was behind this. Karen, 52 years old, self-proclaimed guardian of neighborhood values. Platinum blonde bob that shimmered in the sun, floral blouse stretched over her round frame. She was standing at the edge of my ruined land, arms crossed, lips pursed, surveying her kingdom of asphalt like a queen admiring her domain. Her smug expression told me everything I needed to know. She had planned this for a long time, and she thought she had already won. I clenched my fists and stormed toward her. "What the hell is this?" I demanded, my voice shaking with fury. My breath came out in sharp, ragged bursts, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Karen lifted her chin. "It's exactly what it looks like, Paul. You should be grateful, really. The Homeowner Association has done you a favor. That ugly, messy farmland of yours was bringing down the property value of the entire community. This," she gestured at the smooth gray expanse, "is progress. You buried my land under concrete." My heart pounded. "This is my property. You can't just—" Karen cut me off with a smirk. "Actually, we can. And we did. The Homeowner Association approved this project months ago. You must have missed the notices." I knew that was a lie. I never received any notices. I never agreed to anything. And I damn sure never gave permission for my land to be stolen. I turned to the row of workers still milling around the parking lot, some adjusting signs, others hauling more concrete in wheelbarrows. "Stop what you're doing," I shouted. "This is my land. You have no right to be here." One of the workers, a young guy in a construction vest, hesitated, looking from me to Karen. She smiled and pulled a folded document from her purse. "Actually, Paul, we do." She held up a contract, crisp and official looking. "This land was reassigned under Homeowner Association jurisdiction. You signed the agreement when you first moved in. That was impossible. I never signed anything like that." I yanked the document from her hands and scanned it. There, at the bottom, was my signature, or at least a very convincing forgery of it. My blood went cold. "This is fake," I said through gritted teeth. Karen shrugged. "Take it up with the city. But in the meantime, this land belongs to the Homeowner Association. And you, my dear, are trespassing." I felt my hands tremble with rage. This wasn't just some bureaucratic error. This was theft, and I wasn't going to let them get away with it. The workers continued moving about as if I wasn't even there, spreading gravel, painting white lines over my stolen land. My chest ached with frustration. "Get your people off my land," I said, voice low and dangerous. Ah, Karen laughed. "Oh, Paul, you really should have read the fine print." Then she turned, clapping her hands. "All right, everyone, let's wrap this up. The parking lot will be open to all Homeowner Association members by the end of the week." I stood there, helpless, as the workers continued, paving over the history of my family, my home, my legacy. Every scrape of a shovel, every splash of wet concrete felt like a nail being driven into my heart. The air smelled of chemicals and dust, suffocating, artificial. I took a step back, breathing heavily, my mind racing through every possible way to stop this madness. I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. If Karen and the Homeowner Association thought they could steal from me and get away with it, they had no idea who they were dealing with. My jaw tightened. My fight had only just begun. This was war. I spent the entire night pacing my living room, my fists clenching and unclenching as I ran through every possible way to fight back. The scent of coffee lingered in the air, stale and bitter, matching the frustration that gnawed at my chest. My land had been stolen right out from under me, paved over without my consent, and I knew that if I didn't act fast, I'd lose any chance of reclaiming it. But where did I even start? The Homeowner Association had the upper hand. They had documents, signatures, fake but official-looking nonetheless. They had the city on their side, or at least enough bureaucratic red tape to stall me indefinitely. I pulled up every old deed, every land record I could find. My family had owned this farm for over 70 years. There was no way in hell that land had legally transferred to the Homeowner Association. I needed proof, real proof, to counter their lies. But I wasn't a lawyer. I had no idea how to navigate the legal mess they had wrapped me in, and every attempt to contact the city office led to the same infuriating response. "We'll look into it." By morning, I decided I couldn't do this alone. I needed help. The first person that came to mind was Jack, an old friend who used to work in real estate law before quitting in disgust after dealing with too many crooked developers. If anyone could tell me how to unravel this mess, it was him. I called him up, and after a brief explanation, he agreed to meet me at the local diner. Jack looked exhausted when he walked in, his graying hair a little more disheveled than I remembered. He slid into the booth across from me and let out a deep sigh. "Paul, you sound like you're in some deep shit." "You have no idea," I muttered, shoving the forged contract across the table. Jack picked it up, his eyes scanning the text with the sharp focus of someone who'd seen too many of these before. He didn't speak for a long time, just flipping through the pages, his frown deepening. Finally, he set the paper down and exhaled through his nose. "This is bad," he said. "Really bad." "No kidding." Jack tapped a finger on the bottom of the contract. "The signature looks real to an untrained eye, but I can tell this was lifted from an old document and digitally altered. Sloppy work, but convincing enough if the right people sign off on it." My stomach twisted. "And what does that mean for me?" Jack hesitated. "It means they have enough plausible deniability to drag this out in court for years if they want to. Even if you prove this is fake, that's not enough. You need more, something that proves deliberate fraud, something that forces the city to take action." I let out a frustrated groan. "And where the hell am I supposed to find that?" Jack leaned forward, lowering his voice. "These things don't happen in a vacuum, Paul. Someone pushed this through. Someone at City Hall had to approve this paperwork. If you can figure out who, then you might have a way in." I nodded, determination hardening in my gut. "Then that's where I start." Jack sighed, rubbing his temples. "Be careful. The Homeowner Association has money, lawyers, and influence. If they smell trouble, they'll bury you in legal fees before you get close to the truth." I thanked him, paid for our coffee, and left. My next stop was City Hall. I didn't have a plan, just a burning need for answers. As I stepped inside, I felt the weight of the bureaucracy pressing down on me, but I wasn't leaving without something concrete. I approached the clerk's desk, forcing a polite smile. "I need to request public records regarding property ownership transfers." The woman barely glanced at me as she typed. "Which property?" I gave her my farm's address, heart hammering as she pulled up the files. After a long pause, she frowned. "That can't be right." "What?" She turned the monitor slightly. "According to this, your land was transferred over a year ago. The air left my lungs." "That's impossible." She shrugged. "Says right here, Homeowner Association acquired the rights last July. I gritted my teeth. "I never sold it." She glanced around, lowering her voice. "You're not the first to say that." My pulse quickened. "What do you mean?" She hesitated, looking at the other clerks before leaning in slightly. "I can't talk about it here. Meet me after my shift, at the coffee shop across the street." I nodded and walked out, my mind racing. If there were others like me, if this had happened before, then this wasn't just an isolated incident. This was something bigger, something systematic. And if I could prove that, then maybe, just maybe, I could bring the whole damn thing crashing down. I sat in my truck outside the coffee shop, my fingers drumming against the steering wheel as I watched the clerk from City Hall walk through the door. My mind raced with possibilities. What did she know? Had other homeowners been victims of the same fraud? And if so, how long had this been going on? I took a deep breath, stepped out of the truck, and walked inside. She was already seated in the far corner, her hands wrapped around a steaming cup of coffee. When she looked up at me, there was hesitation in her eyes, like she was debating whether meeting me was a mistake. I slid into the seat across from her, offering a nod of thanks. "I appreciate you agreeing to talk." She sighed, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly. "I shouldn't be doing this, but this isn't the first time someone's come in with a case like yours. The Homeowner Association has been pulling this scam for years, and they always get away with it." My stomach twisted. "How many people?" She glanced around, lowering her voice. "At least a dozen that I know of. But most give up. They don't have the money to fight it in court, and by the time they realize what's happened, the Homeowner Association has already sold their land to developers or turned it into something else. The legal fees alone scare them into walking away." I clenched my jaw. That was exactly what they were trying to do to me, make me feel like I had no choice but to give up. "Who's behind it?" She hesitated. "The same people every time. The Homeowner Association board members, a few city officials who approve the fake paperwork, and some big real estate developers who get the land for pennies on the dollar. It's all tied together, but no one's ever been able to prove it." A cold determination settled over me. "Then it's time someone did." She shook her head. "It's not that simple. Even if you get evidence, these people have power. They have money. They can make problems disappear." I leaned forward. "Not this time. I need to find the original records. The real ones. Who would have access to them?" She hesitated before pulling a small notebook from her purse and scribbling something down. "There's an old archive in the basement of the city records office. They don't digitize the really old stuff. Too much work, I guess. If there's anything proving your land was never legally transferred, it would be there. But getting access won't be easy." I took the note from her, scanning the address. "Thank you." She hesitated again. "Be careful. If they realize you're looking into this, they won't just let it slide." I nodded and left, my mind already spinning with plans. I drove straight to the city records office, but when I asked about accessing the archives, I was met with the same bureaucratic resistance as before. "Those records are restricted," the clerk told me with a rehearsed smile. "You'd need special permission." "From who?" "From the head of the planning department, and he's not available." I gritted my teeth. Another roadblock, another delay. But I wasn't about to let this stop me. I left, but instead of going home, I parked a block away and waited. If those archives held the truth, I was going to get to them, one way or another. Hours passed. By the time the office closed, the streetlights had flickered on, casting long shadows over the sidewalk. Employees trickled out one by one, chatting, laughing, oblivious to the fight I was waging. Finally, the building was empty. Almost. A janitor exited the side door, propping it open as he took a smoke break. That was my chance. I slipped through the propped door and moved quickly, keeping low as I made my way down the dimly lit corridors. The air smelled of dust and old paper, the hum of fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. I found the staircase leading to the basement, my heart hammering. The door was locked, but I had come prepared. A thin piece of metal slid into the latch, and with a soft click, the door creaked open. Rows of filing cabinets lined the walls, thick folders stacked haphazardly on shelves. I scanned the labels, looking for property deeds, transfer records, anything that could prove my land had been stolen. My fingers trailed over the dusty files until I found it. The original deed, my grandfather's name scrawled across the top, the real record, proof that my land had never been transferred. Then I heard footsteps. My breath caught. I shoved the file into my jacket and slipped behind a row of shelves just as a flashlight beam swept across the room. A security guard. He moved slowly, his boots clicking against the concrete floor. I stayed perfectly still, my pulse pounding in my ears. He lingered for a moment, then turned and left. I waited another minute before making my move, slipping back up the stairs and out the same way I came in. As soon as I was back in my truck, I exhaled shakily. I had what I needed. The question was, what was I going to do with it? I didn't sleep that night. The stolen deed burned a hole in my jacket pocket, a piece of history that should have never left my grandfather's hands. My land had never legally changed ownership, and now I had the proof. But what good was proof if the system itself was designed to bury it? The Homeowner Association had connections, money, and a city hall filled with people willing to look the other way. I had a piece of paper and a target on my back. By sunrise, I had a plan. I needed to go public. Fighting this in court could take years, and I'd be bled dry by legal fees before I ever saw a judge. But public pressure? That was something even corrupt officials had a hard time ignoring. I needed someone who could make this story explode. And I knew exactly where to go. I drove straight to the local news station, a small independent outlet that had a reputation for exposing shady dealings in the city. The receptionist looked up as I stepped inside, her gaze flicking from my disheveled clothes to the tense grip I had on my jacket pocket. "Can I help you? I need to speak to someone about a story." She hesitated. "Do you have an appointment?" I shook my head. "No, but trust me, they'll want to hear this. It's about the Homeowner Association and City Hall working together to steal land. And I have proof." That got her attention. She picked up the phone, murmured something, and gestured for me to sit. My leg bounced impatiently as I waited. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Finally, a man in a button-up shirt appeared from the hallway, his sharp eyes scanning me. "Paul, right? I'm Eric Palmer, investigative reporter. Let's talk." His office was cluttered with papers, coffee cups, and a whiteboard filled with names, dates, and arrows connecting them like a conspiracy map. I didn't waste time. I pulled out the deed and placed it on his desk. This land was stolen from me. I never sold it. The Homeowner Association faked the paperwork and City Hall approved it without question. Eric picked up the paper, his brow furrowing as he read. "Where did you get this?" "From the city archives. The real archives, not the digital ones they give the public. The records say my land was transferred last year, but this document proves it was never legally signed over. Someone forged my name." Eric exhaled slowly. "You realize what you're accusing them of, right? This isn't just an Homeowner Association dispute. This is fraud at a high level. If what you're saying is true, they could be doing this to dozens of people." I nodded. "And that's why I need your help. I don't have the power to fight them alone. But if we make enough noise, if we put this out there for everyone to see, they won't be able to ignore it." Eric drummed his fingers against the desk, thinking. "This is big. I need to verify everything, cross-check records, maybe get a statement from City Hall. If I run with this and it turns out to be shaky, it'll die before it even gets off the ground." "I get it. But you won't find anything that disproves what I'm telling you. This isn't just about me. The clerk at City Hall, she told me this has happened before." Eric's eyes flickered with interest. "The clerk? Would she be willing to talk?" "Maybe. She's scared." "That's a good sign," Eric muttered. "Means there's something worth being scared of." He stood, grabbing his notepad. "All right, Paul, give me 24 hours. I'll dig, I'll confirm, and if everything checks out, we blow this thing wide open. But be ready. If they've been getting away with this for years, they won't go down without a fight." I left the station with a strange mix of relief and dread. The ball was rolling now. There was no turning back. I didn't even make it home before the first warning shot came. My phone rang as I pulled into my driveway, a number I didn't recognize. I answered cautiously. "Paul, speaking." A smooth, measured voice came through the line. "Mr. Reynolds, I strongly suggest you reconsider your actions." I stiffened. "Who is this?" "Someone who's trying to save you a great deal of trouble. Drop the story, take the loss. It's just land after all." My grip on the phone tightened. "That land has been in my family for generations. I'm not dropping anything." There was a pause. "That's unfortunate. We'd hate to see something happen to it. Or to you." The line went dead. I sat there, the weight of the threat settling in my chest like a stone. They knew. Someone at City Hall, someone in the Homeowner Association. They knew I was making moves, and they weren't going to sit back and let it happen. But if they thought they could scare me off, they had no idea who they were dealing with.